If you are new to handstands, then nothing is going to boost your confidence and reduce your fear of falling more than becoming stronger and more coordinated in your handstand wall walk. Let's look at probably the most important exercise to get you fitter, stronger, more able on your hands, and it's going to transfer over to skills like falling out of a handstand safely and just also increase your strength and endurance. So it's really an all-round great exercise to be very comfortable with and to increase your endurance in over time. The full version of the exercise is to start with one foot on the ground and one foot on the wall. Depending on your flexibility, that can look a little bit different. Doesn't really matter, but just the higher the better, I guess. And we're just gonna lift our legs up, toes on the wall, and then you're gonna find a way to weight shift and walk into the wall. You don't have to be comfortable going all the way in initially, but that will come later. And we're just gonna scale this so that no matter your level, you can get a lot out of this exercise. First of all, you're gonna feel your fear rising as you walk closer in. If you're not used to falling out, then there is a very real risk if you go too close, you might fall out, and it's very scary. What's gonna happen? So initially, just to do this exercise super safely, you're gonna listen to the fear and only go into the point where you feel you can control it. So that's gonna look like this. For example, this line here marks 1 meter. Doesn't matter really, it's your subjective feeling, but like now I know, okay, I'm 1 meter from the wall. Let's see if I can get a bit closer. This might start to feel a bit scary. And in here might start to feel very scary because now it's hard to get my legs down the closer I go. So like you're gonna have to listen to that. And every time you do your handstand wall walk, just challenge yourself to go 5% beyond what you're used to. You don't have to take big steps and challenge yourself a lot. I would challenge yourself sort of over time, a little bit gradually. Just like in running, they say don't increase your distance more than 5 or 10% a week. Same could go for here. Just build it up gradually. Let your body sort of soak it up instead of forcing yourself to like jump over the edge and do something that feels way too scary for your system to really appreciate it. So that's the distance to the wall, and over time we want you to be able to put your hands closer to the wall, eventually to the point where it's your nose and your toes and nothing else touching the wall. But while you're challenging your fear gradually over time, you can build endurance as well. So within the room you have to walk, we're gonna do repetitions. So for example, a set of 3 repetitions would look like this. Place my foot, and I'm gonna walk in until I feel that fear, and then I'm gonna walk back out. And just to touch the floor, I think is a nice standard, and then immediately just going back up again. Just one thing that's nice to think about is to keep your weight on your hands. So some flexible people could do the wall walk sort of just by leaning like this into the wall. We sort of want his shoulders on top. That's going to build your strength more than if you just melt like this and use your flexibility. So that's how to do repetitions. You might start doing only 1 repetition at a time and shaking it out, having some rest before you do the next set. But then you can start doing sets of 2, sets of 3, maybe even sets of 5 and beyond, and really start to feel good doing these sets. And to make it feel better over time, trust me, it is possible. We're gonna switch angles, and then you're gonna see probably the most important thing about this movement is how my hips are shifting. There's a weight shift going on. Many coaches will say that you should keep your hips sort of steady and move a bit like a robot, which is good for like shoulder conditioning, and they do that in gymnastics and so on. But I think that is profoundly unhelpful when you're learning to walk on your hands, because we want, first of all, you to feel natural when you're up there on your hands. So let me show you the difference. Unnatural wall walk will look like this, with feet close together and pushing yourself up only with the hands. I'm not against this, but I'm just saying that's gonna be harder and probably not help you reduce your fear as efficiently as letting your hips move. And what I mean by that is, I'm taking a wide stance with my feet, and to take a step, instead of keeping my hips in the middle, which makes my step sort of heavy and clunky, I'm gonna shift the weight, and then this step is easy. Shift the weight, easy. And I want it to feel easy with that big weight shift. So I'm just gonna stay here and weight shift so you can see the idea. The main cue I want you to think about is to have a sense that this hand that's lifting is being pulled off the floor. Instead of you sort of forcing the movement, I want you to have the feeling the arm is being pulled off, and then you take the step. And that's what's gonna make the difference between feeling sort of forceful, effortful in your walks. There, that looks a bit better. And feeling effortless, fluid, natural when you walk. That's what we're after, that feeling. Note on this exercise is the use of your feet. When you're able to get your chest or your nose to touch the wall, we're going to point our feet and basically establish a full frontal wall handstand. So if you're able to get here, that's great. To get out of it, I just flex my feet again. And every time I'm walking, I use my toes like this. So I don't want to be pointed feet and sliding down the wall. That can hurt and just doesn't feel nice. So whenever I'm walking, I'm on my toes. But whenever I'm establishing my shape, I'll point my toes like this. Also in this position, notice if you're achieving toes and nose by using flexibility, sort of like this. Now I'm leaning on the wall. I'm not in a handstand at all. So I want you to have a sense of getting under yourself with the hands and pushing up through yourself. Chest is not touching, and I'm not sort of leaning like this into the wall. I'm standing on top of my hands. If you would fall from here, the goal is to fall to one side and take a step. So a little drill that comes before that can help you feel a bit comfortable falling is, well, first of all, you can just like let your feet slide down. That happens to a lot of people, but I'm not that big of a fan of that way of coming down. Again, that foot slide can hurt your feet a little bit. Wear socks. But the way I would recommend would be to try falling a bit to one side. So I'm here at the limit of my fear. I can sort of take one foot out like that and just follow it and come down a bit sideways. That's how I would build it up, just getting closer and closer to the wall, sliding that foot down and following that. And when you let your feet slide down, it's important that you let one hand lift, because if I keep my weight in the middle on two of my hands and fall like this, it sort of forces me to stay here, and I don't really get to my feet, and I want to get to my feet when I fall. So it's much better as I fall, if this arm over here can lift off, doesn't have to look like that, but just have a sense that there will be a moment when you're falling that all the weight is on one hand, and that's going to make your exit so much more elegant. So I hope you can feel that if you play a little bit with the falling. Keep it safe, keep it progressive, not starting too close to the wall. Then I do think this is a practice you can do alone without too much risk of anything going wrong.